Okay, today we're going to try and do a patch release of pyhf. We're going to release version 0.7.1. This is also going to be kind of a test of some of the recent CI infrastructure that we've updated. So I'm going to try and share my screen. Okay, and I'll move this off to the side. I'll blow this up so it's a little bit easier for people to see. So this is the release v0.7.1 checklist. So we're just going to walk through it. Most of this has already been done, ignoring kind of some of the email bits. So the very first thing we're going to do is just to make sure everything is kind of working as expected. We're going to make a release of test. We're going to make a release to test PyPI. And we're going to be doing that using the workflow dispatch event trigger, and that's going to run on the branch that we want it to. So that's going to be the release branch, release v0.7.x, publish to test PyPI, true. So let's go ahead and run that. Okay, so this will take a couple of seconds, but that's okay. Okay, so this is getting uploaded to test PyPI right now. And okay, we can go ahead and check. Oops, just missed it. So we'll go back down to the URL it gave us, and we'll check this out. Okay, things are looking good. That all seems reasonable. We got the Python 3.11 in there now, which is great. So I think that looks legit. So I'll go ahead and close this, and then we'll say that the we'll say that that's good, and we also verified that the README is displaying correctly, so we can check off there. And we've also updated the code meta. So it is now time to actually go make a release. Okay, so okay, so the way that this works is we go into the GitHub Actions, and we're going to go to bump version, and the first okay, I think we can ignore that. The first so when we bump the version, we're going to be bumping this on the particular release branch, and then that's going to get actually built and first deployed to test PyPI for us. So we're going to run the workflow. We can run the workflow from main, but so we're going to choose the semver type of the new version. So this is a patch release, so we're going to keep it at patch. Release candidate, no, we're going to actually make the release. We're not going to do a release candidate. New version to bump to is 0.7.1, and branch to push this tag to, it's not main. We're going to make it off of the version 0.7.x release branch. So that's release the 0.7.x. Force override check. No, we're going to do all the checks and perform a dry run first. Yeah, let's do one dry run, and then we'll run this one more time. So we're going to do run workflow. Okay, so we're bumping the version, and this should happen pretty quickly, but we'll follow along. Okay, so that's pretty fast, but we can do kind of a check just to check out what the annotated tag would look like. So this all looks good. This has some of the recent additions to it, so that's great. All right, so let's run this for real now. Let's go back to bump version, run the workflow, patch false. We're bumping to version 0.7.1. The branch is release v0.7.x. And then perform a dry run. No, we're going to do this for real this time. So now we're going to do run workflow. Okay. Going back to the bump version, this should be very fast. Okay, so that already happened, and what happened is it pushed the tag back to the release branch. So we can see that this has started some infrastructure jobs running right now. We have Docker images being built, as well as distributions being built that are headed to test PyPI. Yeah, so if we also flip over just to the branches, we can see that release v0.7.x has this tag that's been pushed up to it. So now we're looking at the final stages of the build as things are getting ready to get, well, actually, I guess it's still early on. It had the GitHub action for publishing had to get rebuilt. Okay. Yeah, and so if we now also, yeah, so we have this bump here, and then there should also be a tag that's associated with it. So if we go to the tags, we see that there is also this v0.7.1, and that will come in handy in a little bit. Okay, so now we're publishing to test PyPI. Okay, so that seemed to be good. We're gonna check this out again just to make sure everything looks nice. Yeah, this looks good. Got up onto test PyPI just fine. Version 0.7.1 is showing up, so that's also nice to see. Python 3.11. Okay, so everything is looking good. Okay, so we can now also just check to see how the Docker images are doing. Okay, so that seemed to actually build pretty quickly, which is nice. Oh yeah, because this actually wasn't being pushed up to the registry, so that's fine. Okay, so now that is done, we can also just check there. Let's go back to the checklist. Okay, so now that we have, we've tested that everything works and we have a tag, what we're now going to do is we're going to go to the GitHub releases, and we're going to draft a new release. We're going to choose the tag. We're going to use the version v0.7.1 we just made. We're also going to call this release v0.7.1. And all right, we're going to first generate the release notes. And okay, so this is just going between the last tag and the current tag. What I'm also going to do is I have the markdown version of the release notes that got published. So I will also put these up front. Okay, and we'll just do a little preview first. Okay, this is a patch release. And I've also I'm going to create a GitHub discussion. And yeah, I don't think that we apparently don't have an announcements category, so that'll just go under general. Okay, this looks good. So we're going to go ahead and publish this release. And by doing so, this should now kick off the final bits of infrastructure. So if we go to GitHub Actions now, we should see that we have both publishing of releases to PyPI, as well as Docker images being built, and these should actually get published now. Right, so we can go ahead and just watch the final bit. Okay, and we have a release on PyPI. So checking this out just to make sure that everything worked as expected. Yep, we still have Python 3.7. So this is, we made sure that we didn't drop it like we will in version v0.8.0, and we also have Python 3.11 now because this is the first one to support it. So this is looking pretty good. Right, so we now have Python or pyhf version 0.7.1 out in the wild. So hope you enjoy.